Oh, now it's official. Oh, now everybody will see that. Okay. So welcome everybody. Basically, that's a guest. Yeah, okay, that's not the biggest meeting weekly we had for the this project, but it's the biggest for this year. So I see at least eight people here. Welcome everybody who is also new. So idea was today that different guys ask me about the project itself, what's new is coming and what is our plan and what is the project about. So basically what I wanted to do today is to present the project one more time, just to give some overview about what we are doing, what we are planning to do, what is the progress and how you can join us. And we have one more person is coming. Yep. So yeah, I'll start basically. I'll share my screen. I'll give you short info about what do we have currently. Yep. Do you see my browser? Yeah, okay. I have to wait 5 seconds till Igor will answer. Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, I got it. So yep. Better I'll start. So we have the project which is located on GitHub of Magento, which is called Async Import. That's basically we have here the wiki with describing the project. That's what I will do today. We have two phases of the project. One is the bulk API improvements, the project that was done last year, which has multiple tasks for improving the async and bulk API in general. Some of them are also required or like nice to have for MSI project related, for example, to switch the default execution to database that you don't need a queuing system. That's basically the biggest one, what we have now. But I guess most of guys here are interested in Async Import module. That's the project that we started last year with the planning and this year with implementation. So we have here in architectural repository, we have the document, the design document for this project. So what is the general idea? The general idea that we have, or we plan to have, the independent service, like module of Magento that can be installed separately from Magento monolith, so from the main system, and it will communicate with Magento through API, and it will provide the functionality that in future will replace the default Magento import. So in version number 1, we are planning basically to have the base functionality of Magento import, where we have, or maybe I have shown you this one. That's basically a nice overview what it will do. So I guess everybody know how default Magento import works. So you take in the CSV data, you upload it through Magento backend, and then you process it, and it's create the products at your end. Okay. Maybe Igor, you said something before, you know.
I said nothing. It was Anton who joined, I believe.
Ah, okay, good. Okay, I didn't see him. Sorry.
Yeah, he's joined from his phone. Anton, we are recording, and Alex is explaining. Everything's awesome.
Cool. Okay, then I will proceed.
Thank you. Sorry.
Well, good. So yeah, so the workflow will be follow. So the first customer, or not customer, I mean customer admin, no matter, will upload the source file. He will do it also with API. So on a phase number 1, which is described, sorry, like this, which is described here, he will send the post request with his data to the source upload endpoint, and we have three types of uploaded source currently planned. Is that you're using the local path for your file. I don't know if it's visible. I'll make it a bit bigger. Then you can use the remote URL, or you can do it in base64, which is quite popular now, way in Magento to upload the data. Also, there is a way, so there is a special case because the import data can be quite big, can be megabytes, hundreds of megabytes, and one base 64 maybe too big, so they will be presented the endpoint, not in like the configuration way that you can do it in a parts. So you split your base 64 in a parts, and then you send it with like total amount of parts, amount like current one, and then the data hash for you can compare after the upload if it was correctly transferred, the full file was correctly transferred. After you will complete this one, you will get the UI ID back. So that's basically your source ID. Let's call it source ID. And then by using the source ID, you can start the import. So in this way, that's kind of similar to Magento standard import. When you first upload the file, you click the validate button. It's uploading the file on Magento folder, on Magento installation folder. I guess it's in a var import. And then validate it and deliver you an errors if they existed, and then you can start an import. So this start an import is step number 2. That's basically when you start import by your source ID or UI ID. And with the start import, also a bit bigger, you have here the data which can be transferred. So kind of you configure in an import. It's currently replicating the also default Magento import functionality with one small modification, which is, well, let's scroll down. So yep, here we have a start import. We have here the profiles. So we will provide in such functionality like a profile. So first idea of this extension when we will finish the development, like on a phase number 1, that we always can accept the file, the CSV file in a format that Magento accepts currently, so the standard Magento import file. But in our own experience and experience of other developers, I can tell that the files are always different, and you always have to do this work with transferring your own format to the format of Magento import. So what we provide in the profile where you can configure in the mapping between your file and Magento system. So you can basically then, with reusing this profile, re-import your file again and again with your own format. Yeah, and also if you can see here, before we have currently here CSV source type supported, but it's in the future can be basically any format which contains the data inside. Also, by the way, those import processors, we already made a base implementation, so any new one can be added by developers if they want to, just with XML configuration, and then they will process the file itself. So yeah, with the endpoint, we start in our import, which is basically then parse your file, and we'll send the objects to Magento by using Async bulk API. We didn't come to this implementation yet, so I guess bulk is more useful here in these points. And then basically we plan that those operations will be asynchronous, so you don't need to wait while it will process your 10,000 of lines in your file. So basically you then can request the status of this file import, and you will see the information about this file. Then you will see the items list. In this items list, that's your kind of line, and you will have the data which is coming in, coming out. So the outputs of Magento, what was sent to Magento, you can also debug it. That's phase number 1 of the project. In a phase number 2, it's basically can be done almost separately because it's only providing the UI. Quite short, we didn't discuss it in detail. So basically just a UI for Magento, so a kind of separate module where you can start the import without API knowledge. So if you are end user, basically you can just start an import from UI. And then we have phase number 3, which is basically describing and implementing this profile features. So yeah, here we have a profile, so we can basically have an endpoints for create a new profile, for edit and delete the profiles. And here you can define the mapping for your fields, let's say between your file and Magento. You can define some custom processing rules, even. So basically quite flexible. This part is only like a prototype because we didn't come to this implementation yet. Because it's kind of, yeah, phase number 3. And one more feature is repeatable calls. So basically, when you start an import, then you request the status of your import, and then you see, let's say, you had 100 items, and you have that almost everything is fine, but item number 10, 20, 25 has failed by some reason. I don't know, image is missing, some attribute, some required attribute is missing. So what you want to do with it, you basically just can restart this transaction. And you can restart it by knowing your operation ID and your file ID. Wait, I'll move here. Phase number 1, where we have those statuses. So basically we have here operation ID, which is basically a UI ID. Okay, sorry for that. We delivered these changes only like beginning this year, a couple of weeks ago, when we decided to use UID everywhere, and I guess phase number 3 is still using the old names. But basically, yeah, that's our source ID, and that's our operation, which is item, and then ID of this item. And then you just transfer your serialized data, which you basically have also here. That's a data that module created, like a body for the endpoint to send it to Magento. And you can basically change it and repeat this call if you want to. In this way, yeah, you don't need to restart the whole import. You can just pointedly repeat the calls which were failed. Yep, that's currently about the idea. Yep, that's described here. That you can find this document also in a wiki of our project. So, and shortly about the status. So we delivered already the base module, which is very base one, is providing only the interfaces. Wait, not here. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, yeah. So for the guys who want to contribute and start to do something just to make it easier, we import. So we have this module here. It's quite a new one. It's an import service, and it basically have only the interfaces, some responses, models. Yeah, so quite simple. Nothing currently that special. And on top of it, we have two pull requests. One is remote file upload processor, which is basically in review, which was delivered by a guy named Marian like a week ago. And we're now in some review phase about the architecture and the code review. And we have one more pull request, which was delivered not in Magento repository. It was done in our fork, which was from Stepan Furman, which it's implementation of local path file processor. So when you can upload the file located on your local file system. So basically, Stepan promised to convert it to the Magento repository because he developed it before we delivered the base extension, so the interfaces were changed. But that's not so bad. I hope he can do it next days. Yeah, so our status basically is quite, we are on a start, I would say. We have here on a colleague as Alex Vasiliev, who is working currently on basically an import. So the functionality that will, yep, yeah, correct. The functionality that will parse the file and will send it to Magento via the API. This task also kind of in progress. Yeah, and we have quite a rich backlog here, which covering the phase number 1. Also not fully. So in any case, we are open for new people. If you're interested to start with something, it should not be the source upload. If you want to start with profile or with UI, feel free to join our meetings. Yeah, then shortly about the project, because that was all from my side. Any questions? Any questions?
I don't have any questions.
Oh, your has no delay now. You see, it's fixed.
I fixed it.
Okay, good. Okay,
Yeah, Alex,
then
I
yeah.
have just one question. Are there some plans to replace the standard Magento import with the bulk, with the asynchronous import in the future?
In the future, yes, but I'm not sure that it will be in a close future.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Good. Then no other questions for now. Good. Then then we will proceed with our weekly sync up. We have on the call today Patrick, who basically delivered the pull request that allows delete operation for synchronous bulk API. Patrick, you're welcome to present your pull request and how it works.
Okay. Let me share my screen quickly.
Yep. Yeah.
So just to run down, where is it? Yeah, so what happens when you send a delete request to the asynchronous API? It gets processed by the consumer. When the consumer runs, it defaults to the global area. So there's a remove action validator, basically that determines whether or not that is the removal or the deletion will be allowed. And in the global area, it's not. So that would create a failure where anytime you were trying to send a delete operation to the asynchronous API for things like products, for example, those requests would fail. And they would do so relatively silently. So what we've done is, unfortunately, as a temporary workaround, we set the is secure area registry value that's used in the remove action to allow this. So if we have a sacrificial product, I can demo it real quick. Product dynamic 3. I can send a delete request. We fire off the async consumer. Fingers crossed that the demo actually works. Yeah, there we go. So now it's finished. Yeah, refresh, and yeah. So my product dynamic 3 is now gone, so that the pull request allows the delete asynchronous operation to complete. Yeah, I haven't done so. I'd really like to submit a proposal in the architecture repo to potentially either change the area code that the consumers are ran in by default, or create a separate area for the consumers to be able to set the remove action the right way in a similar fashion to what's done in the REST APIs and admin HTML, but to keep backwards compatibility. And 2.3, this was as good as we could get for the time being.
Yeah, that's very good. In any case, if you have a proposal, you can post it. That's quite interesting topic. Because basically the use of the registers was deprecated in 2.3, and we have still, I guess, a lot of places in the core that have to be replaced. Because registry is still using there. Yeah, but in any case, if you have a proposal related to the consumer works and so on, just feel free. Yeah, that's, I guess, then for today, that's all. So as we had so many people today, the new people also, feel free to contact me or anybody from Magento NConf team if you want to join. Hope you liked it and hope to see you next week. Bye bye.
And thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Igor is left and leave the recording on.
Странно, как оно записывает без Игоря. Вот, эта точка мигает.
Прикольно.